It's been a while, as you guys can tell. Like my last video was maybe like a year ago, and recently I've been playing around with like a lot of different lighting, different angles, like reorganizing my room, doing all kinds of different things. So hopefully after this, like my schedule will be a little bit less hectic, so then I can post more videos. So this video idea came to me a while ago when I was actually in the process of making another video, but it's more towards the whole idea of like, let's make the world a better place. It's a video that I think everyone in the world will benefit from, and I know that sounds like really exaggerated, but if you watch the video through its entirety, you're gonna see how everyone, especially parents who have trouble understanding their children and children as well who misunderstand their parents, can benefit from. So I was doing some thinking, which I do a lot of, much to the dismay of my mental health. I recently graduated with a specialist degree in the Socio-cultural Anthropology program at University of Toronto, and I began to think, what can I do with this degree, like what I've learned? Because it has a lot to do with understanding others and like certain power struggles, what allows for certain things to happen, all kinds of things, and like the whole everything we see, like with current political and even past political, historical context and things like that. And I began to think, why are there so many problems in the world, like between people? And then I realized that, and as I kind of alluded to earlier, it seems to be a lot of problems when it comes to the communication between people, because we do not understand each other in a way that we should in order to properly, well, communicate. I want to talk a bit about why these differences exist and why these things are like really unimportant if you really think about them. I mean, they're important in shaping you, but you need to understand that not everyone had the same upbringing as you. Even like when you see, it's really common to see like parents and children not understanding the same thing. Parents tend to have a lot more experience within like certain aspects, but it's within that time frame, for example. Because you always hear like, oh mom, well you're not a kid now, because there's always the, oh when I was your age, and those comparisons that get drawn. But the thing is that all of our knowledge is based around like the context in which we grow up, like the politics, the historical, like what I like to call the spatio-temporal context. And when you see like the ways in which these things happen during those times, like you get to understand why people feel the way that they do about certain things. And I think that once you realize that, yeah, what the way that you think is best for you, like it helps you to survive or thrive in your given environment, but it might not be the best for someone else, right? Because not everyone has the same opportunities, not everyone, let's say, goes to university, not everyone goes to college, like there's all these different things, and that doesn't make somebody better or worse than someone else, it just makes them different. And that's one of the things I really want to highlight, like no one's better than this person or that person. They might not be like more adapted to certain environments, and that's because of how they grew up, how they learned, how they took certain circumstances and contexts and things like that. And then you even see how this plays out in the long run. The reason is we have this problem where we assume that everyone else has the same experiences, same opportunities, same education levels, this whole common sense idea that not everyone does have, because whether you like it or not, like we're not all the same within this aspect. And then when you begin to look into the ways in which people tend to differ, it's really just a matter of like what you're exposed to growing up, like certain structures, like different things like that. Morals and moral obligations and things like that is a prime example of something that not everyone agrees with. Like even if you believe in the same religion as someone else, or read the same religious text, everyone understands that religious text in the same way. And it's interesting because that is the perfect analogy for what I'm trying to prove here. Because there's always someone who has an opinion or life experience or something of the sort that is different from you. And that shapes how you view the world, how they view the world, and that's what leads to a lot of misunderstandings. in the same way. And it's interesting because that is the perfect analogy for what I'm trying to prove here. Because there's always, always, always someone who has an opinion or life experience or something of the sort that is different from you. And that shapes how you view the world, how they view the world, and that's what leads to a lot of misunderstanding. The reason why I say that that's really good of an analogy is because when you consider that let's say two people of the same religion are talking, like, you would assume, for example, that they believe the same things that you do fundamentally, and that might be true, but when it comes up certain issues, whether it be like, I don't know, abortion or like something of that sort, if you see that it's very, very, very controversial, even like with members of your religious group and at meetings and things like that, you're gonna see that not everyone agrees with the same thing, but you guys are always going to pray to, let's say, the same deity or something of that sort. And then you begin to understand that not everyone, though they might believe the same thing fundamentally, it's not the same across the board. And everybody, no matter if it's your best friend, your like sister, no matter who it is, like people who you are really close to, you might realize that, yeah, you guys might have the same interests, like you and your best friend might have a lot of the same interests, but the degree to which you guys have interest in like a particular thing might vary. For example, you might be really into cars, well, both of you guys, and then one of you guys knows a lot more about like the performance or like different mechanics and things like that, and then the other one just like appreciates like the outside, like the chassis of the car, the like rims, like all those different things. And like, but you're still friends, and like you both go and appreciate cars if you go to car shows and stuff, but for different reasons. And it is exactly that what I want to point out, that just because you're different in certain ways or you don't like view things the same way as someone else doesn't mean that you can't have a good relationship with them, have a good interaction with them. This is why I argue that you should always make an effort to understand somebody. Even, I know this is hard, even if you're like really mad at somebody for something that they've done to you, or like there's all these things like within the world that happen, like based on interactions, based on things. We should always try to understand the other person's perspective, because this is something that you do not have, right? Because yeah, you understand it the way that you understand it because of these factors that I've talked about, like kept mentioning throughout this video, right? And I think that the world would be a better place if a lot of people understood these things. Because growing up, I've seen a lot of like different problems occurring between people, like in certain incidents or things, and it always goes down to what I think is miscommunication. Because everyone wants to say what they want to say, but they don't necessarily want to hear what the other person's saying. You know, it's like you're listening, but you're not really listening. And this is what I think actually happens within like the political sphere, or like everything in life. Like the whole idea that moderation is key, and the reason why is because you always hear the extremists. You always hear like people who like propaganda about like whatever other side there is, like whether it be politics, whether it be like your interests, like again, like if it's cars, like if you like tuner cars or muscle cars or exotic cars, right? There's always going to be people who are really extreme about their beliefs, and when they're really extreme about their beliefs, they just tend to use propaganda to be like, oh, this person's so like how can you really believe that, or look how crazy they are, and things like that. But when you really consider the fact that it's literally just an opinion, right? Like everything is literally just an opinion. Once you begin to make an effort to understand things the way that you have not maybe before, you'll begin to see the ways in which all these problems could just be avoided if you just listen to the other person. You might not agree with them, but you have to hear them out and like try to understand. It's more a matter of being relativist, which is that you need to understand things from the context where they come from. And I think that that's very important, because you always hear, don't compare apples to oranges or apples to bananas, because you can't. You really can't. And it's the same thing, because all of us are different. And because of that, you need to really try to understand like where they're coming from in terms of like their like what they're thinking, you know, listen to them. Like always ask somebody why. why do you think this way? And then you can begin to understand like how their mind works and how things like that. And then you can come to a compromise. I know there's different personalities and sometimes people do not necessarily want to hear the other person's side of the story, but trust me, if you make this one little step, you're gonna notice a big difference in your life and in the world around you. It'll lead towards the positivity that I'm hoping that this channel will bring for people. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. Please share it so like other people can see, like maybe your parents, your grandparents, anyone really who you think would benefit from hearing this, because I think that it can really make the world a better place. I'm really not exaggerating. I really think that with this kind of thing, you can see more world peace and you can see a lot more democracy in terms of like people talking about the problems and trying to understand like why there are problems and talking through it. And so yes, please leave a like, comment, share, everything like that. Subscribe if you really like the content. I promise I'm gonna be trying to like do a lot more with my video and things like that, and posting a lot more because I've been really busy. At the moment I'm currently planning on going to law school in the UK, so it's gonna be a pretty big jump for me. And I'm gonna try to maybe post some videos over there. We'll see what happens. And yeah, thank you guys. Take care. Stay positive.